Okay, welcome this morning. We've got video contact there, Carrie. Excellent, thank you very much. We'll call the meeting to order. West Grade Council. This will be our last council meeting of the year. And I certainly hope the last council meeting before Christmas. So wish everybody in the chambers today and everybody out there in live stream land, I'm not sure just what you call it. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everyone. If you can, could we please rise and we'll take a moment of reflection before we begin. Thank you. And Ms. Mighton, can you give us the update on IT and how to join the meeting virtually?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Before I begin, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter meeting ID 891-5626-2480. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being held in 2 locations, on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation and comments are not monitored through live stream on YouTube. It must be done through the Zoom meeting software. Both members of staff and council have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software. Members of council and staff will be raising their hands physically on camera to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance at any point during this meeting, you can send a chat message to myself, Carrie Mighton, and I will attempt to assist you.
Thank you very much, Director Mighton. Declaration of pecuniary interest, or the general nature of, and no, this is just tea that's in here. It's not eggnog today. Is there any pecuniary interest today from anyone? Can be declared if it does arise at any time, of course. Delegations and presentations. We have no delegations today. Thank you, Jamie. Public meetings. We have none scheduled either. Comment period. Is there anyone online, Carrie, that was connected to make comments? Seeing none. Okay. And for the first time, I think since this term of council, we have no one in the chambers this morning. So that will be zipped for comment period. Unfinished business. None that the chair is aware of. Is the clerk? No. Then down, we'll get to some action here. Adoption of minutes, 8.1, minutes of the regular council meeting from December the 5th. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Noon. Any errors or omissions? Comments on those? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Committee and board reports. We have minutes from the October 19th Southern Valley Conservation Authority. Can we take a motion to receive those, please? Moved by Councillor Forrester and Councillor Noon. Thank you. Any comments on those minutes? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Correspondence. Correspondence is in the package there. I think we had a number of them, about 7. Correspondence from different municipalities. Most of them we've already dealt with, made comments and or resolutions supporting, or letters of support went out to, I think, all of them. Well, not all of them, but 5 out of the 7. So if there's nobody who wants to pull any of those, can we have a motion to receive the correspondence as presented for information? Moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Shea. Thank you. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. That's correspondence. Staff reports. And the first ones up are planning staff. Right on time, Mary. Uh,
Thank you,
planning
Mr. Mayor.
staff is with us. The first 1.1.1 is the zoning amendment for WT land. And
Thank you. So this
Go ahead,
application,
Mary.
you've actually seen a couple of times at public meetings. There are two of them actually before you today. One is to lift a holding symbol off the property, and the other one is to zone the property to allow for the development that you've seen before you at a public meeting. As part of the application, the consultant and the owner have prepared numerous planning reports to support the application, being planning applications, record of site conditions, archaeological and functional servicing reports. What we've found out is that through those reports, there's nothing that is causing them not to be able to build on this property as a result of those technical documents. One of the things that one of the technical documents has ensured is that there is no development that's happening within the flood area of the Conservation Authority. So those lands will not be touched through that particular, this particular development. The report has gone through the various planning documents that we have to go through as a result of preparing a planning report, the provincial policy statements, the county gray official plan, your own official plan, as well as the zoning bylaw. Within each of those documents, you all promote through the province, the county, and the region that you want to promote a variety of residential development within your municipality, in particular your settlement areas, which is where this particular property does sit. And as a result of that, it is being supported by those particular agencies through the proposal that you have before you today. There are certain things that still have to be done through this particular development. The zoning bylaw has to be approved. And then, of course, the development does have to go through site plan approval. Through the site plan approval process, there will be continuation of contact with certain agencies that we will have to get approval for them to be able to build, especially the 40-unit townhouse, that being the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, as well as the town itself. There have been some concerns about the capacity of water. At this point in time, water and sanitary, at this point in time, there is capacity in the system for water and sanitary for this proposed development if it proceeds in the near future. Mr. Shipwreck can talk to you about other issues on that, probably at another point in time in your council meeting. Right now, my recommendation to council is that you approve the zoning bylaw to rezone the lands for the development that is being proposed, which is the single-family dwelling on Sadler Street, the 4 townhouse unit on Bruce Street, and the 40-unit apartment building on Bruce as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
okay, thank you very much for that, Mary. And any questions? Planner Hall. Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Thank you and good morning. Just a question, and it's maybe going to come further down the line here, but have we seen any documentation yet of how much they're going to have to elevate these buildings to be within the floodplain there? And by asking that, have we seen any, I would call it a conceptual drawing of what it's going to actually look like? Like in my mind, I envision these things are going to be almost at the second story window of some of the homes that are already existing down there. So I can see where some of the neighbors' concerns are about water runoff and all that stuff. And is it just gonna, how it's going to appear in the neighborhood down there? Have we seen anything about that yet?
So there have been conceptual drawings that have been submitted as part of the application that you would have seen at the public meeting that the applicant had held. But there aren't any detailed designs yet. There should have been. You don't remember the drawing that? Sorry, I think Carl's trying to look for it right now. But all the detailed designs will actually come out through the site plan process. So you have not received a site plan application before you at this point in time. I don't know how it works here in your municipality, if the approval of site plan sits with staff or if it has to come to council. It sits with staff. So it sits with staff. Obviously, if you want to see those drawings or have a meeting on those drawings, staff would be more than happy, I'm sure, to have those discussions with you at that point in time.
If I can just follow up. Yeah, my concern is I know a resident who's further up on Bruce Street towards Lambton and who's been in contact with Saugeen Valley to build a garage in his backyard, and he's got it elevated 4 feet. And from his place, just the layman's eye, crow looking
Right.
down, you're looking at least 20 feet. So I'm just trying to figure out in my mind how this is going to look in this residential neighborhood. That's my concern. Thank you.
And I think through that, it is going to be through the site plan agreement. Not to cause alarm, but I think Councillor Townsend, in that resident, the garage is in the backyard, which goes out onto Station Street, and it's a bit lower too. So, yeah, it's not. His house may be at 20 feet, and I'm not going to give you that he's at 20 feet there. Where the garage is going is in the backyard. I know the place you're talking about. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but I think it can be engineered in place with the rest of the community there, the surrounding houses. Okay. Any other questions for Mary before I ask for somebody to move the recommendation? Carl? Seeing none, then the recommendation is there. Do I have anybody that would move that? Excuse me, Councillor Noon and Deputy Mayor Hutchison seconds that. Okay. Any further questions on the recommendation that we have before us this morning? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Thank you, Mary. Director of Infrastructure and Development, CBO. And that water service agreement for 13553 County Road 10, better known as 10-4 Junction, which I've never figured out where the 4 comes from. I got the 10, but never have figured out where that 4 comes from. Carl, I believe this one is yours. Dealing with this water service agreement with the municipality to the west of us, an agreement.
That shall be left unnamed. Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, this agreement has been a long time in the works. It's probably been, well, it has been over a year. We met first with Hanover and the applicant in June of 2022. So it has been a long process. It has been passed by Hanover Council. They've agreed to the agreement. So they're just waiting for West Grey Council for approval. And then the installation of the water line would occur at the owner's expense with an agreement with Hanover, and payment of for the water bills and things such would go directly to the applicant from Hanover. Payment would go directly to Hanover. The only time West Grey would be involved would be if there was a lack of payment or back payment. Then West Grey would be able through this agreement to add that delinquent fees onto the tax roll. And that's why West Grey is a third party to this agreement, so that we are available in case there is a lack of payment from the property owner.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this? You said, Carl, it's been a long time coming, getting to this point, but certainly good to see, to be able to help out one of the residents and get moving forward on that. The recommendation is there. Heck is it? Deputy Mayor, you'll move it? Very good. Seconder, Councillor Townsend. Thank you. Any other comments on this application? Doug, Councillor Townsend, go ahead.
Thank you. Just wondering, now that we've got a foot in the door, is this maybe a chance to add to relationships with our neighbors to the west and maybe pave a way for future agreements?
I think that'd be a question for the CEO from staff to staff, how well they're working on those at this point in time. Madam CEO?
Good morning, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Townsend. There have been a number of meetings at the staff table, and this is a bit of a milestone agreement for sure. And these sorts of arrangements have been always on the table, and I'm happy to see this going through because I think it is opening a door of cooperation.
Very good. Anything else? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. And yes, we look forward to your point, Councillor Townsend, to more partnerships as we build our communities together. That's it for infrastructure and development. Manager of Public Works, 11.3.1 to start with. Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, it's the technicalities there. You've got to push the right button.
Good morning.
And then we can push your buttons as we go forward in these things. You're being wise. You have your microphone off. With those comments. Anyway, 11.3.1 is the paving condition index report that we've done annually. Is there anything else you want to add to the report or comments?
No, I think the report summarizes where we're at and can work as a document on kind of putting our work plan together for the next few years. And if you look at the drawings, we need to focus on the red and the orange.
Yes. Comments, Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Thank you. Would some of the areas that are noted requiring, immediate attention or sooner than later, I guess, are they outlined in your 10-year work plan as well to kind of complement, like to move forward for future budget years?
Through your worship, this report doesn't specifically say all the work can be accomplished in the next 10 years. As for the next 3 years, the road projects will be heavily weighted to Rockwood Terrace project, which is the southeast quadrant of Durham, but it does give a priority list as funds become available where we would like to hit next.
And if I could add, I think we'll note that we're in conversation with all lower tier municipalities. No, I shouldn't say all, but there's a number of lower tier municipalities with Grey County on exchanging some county roads, making that road exchange. And a couple of these roads would be in there. So part of that goes forward of how do we, who does what before the exchange happens, I guess, and where some of the funding will be coming for that. Jeff?
That's a fair point. Did try to consult with the county a little bit on where we're at on various projects, but there wasn't much of an update. So my initial thought is I'd like to bring some version of this report back annually, and we will try to have that conversation with my peers at the county to try and make sure that we're on the same page with what they're thinking and they're on the same page with where we're heading.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Thank you. In the report, I've got it as page 90 in the total package. It talks about what the county's looking at doing, some of their stuff. And one of them is in 25, I think, is to repave Lambton Street from Highway 6 east to George Street. That section, and then it asks if we want to upgrade water mains and do sidewalks and that sort of thing. That section of street is the part of that is the section of street in front of the post office, which is very narrow. And I wondered if we could entertain looking at what it would cost us to move some of those utility poles back and make that street a little wider there, because it is, I know from years of working on that street, it's seeing far more truck traffic than it ever did before. And it is very, very tight, and it's only a matter of time before somebody gets hit exiting a vehicle or entering a vehicle because it is so tight along Lambton there. So something we may want to address or consider, or even just widening it and having parking only on one side, but that's going to eliminate a lot of parking too. So just a thought.
Through your worship, thank you for your feedback, and we'll discuss that with the county and see what their plan is and what the compromise is, if there's something that can be done.
There'll probably be a slight overage on that, and we can use the excess asphalt there to widen that out. That'd be a good way to start negotiations with Mr. Hoy at the county.
I appreciate your optimism.
Thanks. Okay, any other questions on the pavement conditioning index? If not, there's a recommendation there just to receive for information purposes. Can I have somebody to move that? Councillor Forster and Councillor Noon. Thank you. Any further questions on the recommendation? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Second one, Manager Aiken, is the lease agreement with the McKay pit on Canal Road 23, I believe it is. Any further comments on that there? On this agreement?
No, I think the report is fairly straightforward. The arrangement has worked well. There's no proposed changes from either us or Ms. Kay. We'd like to continue on as is, and so would Ms. McKay.
Thank you. Long-standing agreement. It goes back to way back into the, before amalgamation, back into the Gannell days. That has been a use pit for the municipality and now access. Okay, recommendation is there. Unless there's any questions, does somebody want to move the recommendation as presented? Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. And any further comments on that? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And the next one is the sidewalk conditioning index rating. And Street Scan did this one for us as well too. Any further updates or comments on this one, Jeff?
The comments would be very similar to the pavement one. In this case, we have 24 kilometers. We got 1 kilometer that has a rating of 4 or less, and we've got 7 kilometers that don't meet the current minimum width for barrier-free access. Once again, we're kind of controlled by the Rockwood Terrace project. That's our big project for the next 3 years. There's a fair bit of sidewalk replacement and addition going on in that project, but once we're out of that project, we can kind of visit how we want to move forward. I would envision very similar to the pavement report. As a project is completed on an annual basis, we'll try to update the report. This is what we did, and this is where we'd like to head next.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Shea. Jeff?
Thank you. I note that you flagged the possible sidewalk extensions at the north and south ends of Durham. We had a discussion about that there are citizens who like to walk to the Catholic Church, and the sidewalk ends a couple hundred feet shy of the church, I believe. And similarly, at the south end of town, we extended the sidewalk when we moved the library, but it doesn't go all the way to the end of town to Home Hardware. So there's a number of businesses that a pedestrian would be required to cross the street twice, to get over to the other side, to use the sidewalk, and then cross over again if you were heading, say, for example, to Home Hardware. And that's a very busy and fast-moving traffic section of that street. So I'd like to see us add the south sidewalk extension to the list of future capital projects if we could. I don't know how to activate that. Is that just a request I make to you, Jeff, or do I need to do that as a motion or something? It's nodding. And I am not pushing too hard on the north end because you said it's an MTO barrier. I don't know if there's any way that we can have discussions with them. I assume the MTO doesn't like to have sidewalks on their highways, but it does mean that people are just walking on the side of the road. So, if the sidewalk is not a satisfactory solution for them, is having pedestrians just walk on the side of the road a satisfactory solution? I don't know if there's a further discussion we can have around that.
Jeff, go ahead.
Through your worship, my suggestion at this point is the MTO operations department was very clear with me on their position on that. If that's something the council wishes to pursue, I would suggest making it a delegation request at Roma, Ogra, Amo, see if you can get a seat in front of the minister to review. The issue is the sidewalk stops at the end of the connecting link, and that's the end of their relationship with us.
Okay, so if I could move that we add the south sidewalk extension to list of future capital projects, I would like to do that. Not that in the motion. So in future capital budgeting processes for 2025 and beyond. Consideration of sidewalk extensions be addressed. Go ahead.
Through your miracles, I have that in consideration of staff report IPW 2023-21 sidewalk condition index rating. Council direct staff to include the south sidewalk extension in future capital budgets.
Sorry, did you say where it was? I didn't hear that. So
Yes, south sidewalk extension in Durham. I think we should be specific with that as well.
okay. Yeah, do we have a seconder for that? Councilor Forster? Any questions or comments? Jeff, sorry.
Just a minor point of clarification, because we also have a South Street in Durham. I believe, Councillor Shea, you're referring to this south end of Garifraxis Street on the east side. Is that correct? Just to clear that I got the right work area, as opposed to South Street itself, which is part of another project.
Through your miracles, I think it might be beneficial then to add that it's the southern Garifraxis sidewalk extension. That's
Go ahead, Joyce. Councilor Newt.
Well, thank you. I'd note on the Ayton drawing, you don't even recognize Louisa Street North from Victoria. intersection to the school gates. You don't even recognize it because currently right now it's a painted line on an asphalt surface. My concern again with that at previous years, it was budgeted and engineered with the work that was needed, and I think it needs to take some priority. So I would also recommend that at future budget, relook at that section of road because the road, because of the asphalt and the sidewalk being part of it, is crumbling badly. And it should be itemized on this map, as far as I'm concerned, in red. It's in a very poor condition. So if I can make that recommendation.
I think what I'll do, I know where you're going, and I don't want to take it as an amendment. This one's here, and then we can, I'm gonna ask you to make that motion. We'll do that one as a separate motion. So
Okay.
we've got them. Yeah,
Thank you.
I was wondering whether I could put them together, but I think we'll keep them. They're, no, I haven't moved this one yet. No, I was gonna let you go. I thought it would be amendment, and I kept, yeah, we're gonna do that one as a separate one. So motion on the floor is for South Garifrax and Durham to be included in the budget for the sidewalks. Any further comments on that one, Jeff?
Given that the manager said that we're really tied up with the Rockwood project, I wouldn't necessarily imagine that it's going to be in next year's budget.
I think what it was in future budget.
Future, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Just for clarification. Okay. No further questions on that one. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Joyce, you want to make a motion?
Thank you. Yes, I would like to recommend that in future budget that the sidewalk and/or road, I'm sorry, but we've already passed the road part of it, but being it's all asphalt, that in a future budget that be highly recommended for consideration to be looked at. Whether it goes back by the engineer report that was brought from the former Public Works Infrastructure. But anyways, I'd like to see that move forward. Thank you.
So I think what it is the extension north on Louisa Street from Victoria. The last couple of letters, right? Victoria Street North to the Normandy Central School. It's the one you're thinking about. Specifically. Okay. You want to move that, Joyce? Very good. Mr. Hutchison, Deputy Mayor. Tom will second that. Okay.
Through you, Marcos, I have that in consideration of staff report IPW 2023-21 sidewalk condition index rating. Council direct staff to include the extension of the sidewalk from Louisa Street to Victoria Street North and Ayton in future capital budgets.
Yeah. He's got both of them here. I didn't quite catch it. So it's Louisa Street from Victoria Street North. No, Louisa Street North. Yeah.
So I have on Louisa Street North.
Of Victoria. It's for from.
From Victoria Street North to,
Normandy Public School. To the school.
thank you.
Blue Water hasn't changed the name of that school. It's still Normandy Public. Good. Okay. Go ahead.
So just for clarity, then it's now that in consideration of the sidewalk condition index rating, council direct staff to include the extension of the sidewalk on Louisa Street North from Victoria Street North to the Normandy Public School in Ayton in future capital budgets.
Yes. Okay. Comments, Doug?
Is the Victoria Street North the confusing part? Like, Victoria Street doesn't run, it's the north end of Eaton, but it's not really Victoria Street North. Is there a Victoria Street South? Victoria Street, yeah, you don't need the north in there. I don't think.
Victoria Street.
Yeah. You got two norths in there, it's confusing.
Yep. Okay. We're all clear on what it is. We'll work on the geography with the clerk for a little bit. Director of Legislative Services, sorry. Okay, all right. Any other comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. All right. Joyce, further.
Thank you. It's more just for clarification. I noticed in both the reports, it's itemized as Victoria Avenue and it's Victoria Street in Eaton. Sorry.
My apologies. We'll correct that in future reports.
Okay. The mapping's got it right. Okay. We have a motion. Yeah, well, I think that's what it is, to receive the gift. Just before you go, I think we need to just say that we received the sidewalk conditioning index. We did the same with the road asphalt index. So just receive the report. Do I have a motion for that? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Forster. Thank you. Any other further comments on the sidewalk conditioning report? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Good. Thanks very much, Jeff.
You're welcome and happy holidays to all of you.
And the same back to you, sir, and your family. 11.4 is 11.4.1. This would be Jamie. This one's yours. Go ahead.
Indeed. Thank you, Mayor Eccles. So this is just a housekeeping report. So the Committee of Adjustment is made up of all members of council, and the Planning Act requires members of the Committee of Adjustment who are council members to be appointed annually. The appointment must be done by bylaw as well. So this report is just to seek direction to have staff bring forward a bylaw to appoint all members of council to the Committee of Adjustment for 2024.
Thank you. Great explanation. Can I have someone move the recommendation? Councillor Townsend and Councillor Noon. Thank you. There's no other comments, questions? One. Doug, two. Councillor Hutchison.
Just like to point out something. The Committee of Adjustment in some municipalities, they have a committee that is not necessarily a council. Sometimes they have council members on it, but it's appointed committee members from the general public. So I'm just pointing out that we do it differently in terms of we appoint council to be on that Committee of Adjustment, but I don't believe that you have to be on that Committee of Adjustment. I think last term, some of our members did not choose to be on that committee. So I'd just like to point that out, that we are doing something, actually might end up saving our council a bit of money, because we are a committee of working through council. But if we had public members, they would actually be paid separately to be on a committee, right? They would have a per diem and travel expenses and so on. So just pointed out that we as a council choose to be on there, but don't necessarily have to be on there. Thank you.
I think that you're very correct. And just as a little bit of history, when the municipality, when West Grey was first formed and amalgamated, that's the way we did have it with individuals that are on. When it comes to planning, of course, there's always a great interest from everyone. And what we found was it was very repetitive. Committee of Adjustment met. I think there were 3 or 4 public members on it. Went through everything with the applicant. anything that come out of that had to be approved by council. Council members that weren't on it went through exactly the whole thing again. And at that point, it was amended that we just went with council members to be a little more clear and concise, that everybody received the same information at the same time to make the decision. Jamie.
Through Mayor Eccles, and just for clarity, the Committee of Adjustment is a quasi judicial body that acts and operates separate and distinct from council. So while all council members are on the Committee of Adjustment, there is no mechanism or recourse for council approval of those items that go to Committee of Adjustment, save and except for if one of the conditions of consent or variance, what have you, is a zoning amendment. So outside of that, the Committee of Adjustment is the consent granting authority, separate and distinct from council.
Yep. But as you said, when it comes to the zonings, and that's where we ended up. So anyways, that's how we ended up doing it. Slightly different than some municipalities. Okay. Motions on the floor. No other questions or comments? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Good. Brings us down to 12. Questions? I don't think there's any other staff reports. Any questions? Chance to ask from previous agenda items or anything? I'm going to start with Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would just like to ask staff for an update on the police station build and what's going on there. As we all know, it's been 11 months since we okayed retaining our own police force. Previous council was at a point of tendering before it got pulled out from underneath the municipality. And here we are 11 months later, and it seems like we've gone 3 steps back instead of moving this project ahead. The last meeting we had as a council here, we were looking at a site plan with numerous other things that were proposed to go in that parcel of land. And I believe the consensus of council was get the roads in and the services in, and we'll deal with what we put on the rest of the land after the fact. But again, here we are, we're 11 months since we approved retaining our police force, and we are no further ahead than we were when we came into council. And a lot of us that came onto council were appointed, I think, a lot on the backing that we had the backing of our municipal police force. And I don't think our municipal police force have seen us moving forward with this project. So I was just looking for an update. Thank you.
Madam CEO or CBO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Townsend, for the opportunity to walk through a little bit of the timeline. I will let the CBO speak specifically to the project, but you're right. In January last year, the resolution was sent to the OPP that Westgrave was going to retain our municipal police services. In March, following that confirmation from council, the RFP was issued. It was awarded that was the RFP for the architectural firm to manage the project. It was awarded at the end of March. And then the architects started to review the building plans that were ready to go from the last term of council. They took three months or so, 3 or 4 months to review that, made some slight changes, but everything was ready to go. So that took us to the summertime. At the last council meeting, that's when council approved the update for the property design, directing staff to enter into an agreement with COBI to complete all of the required works for that particular parcel. That's where Mr. Shiprack can jump in on the mechanics of it. I just wanted to sort of walk through the timeline because things had been happening. It's just kind of behind the scenes. It's the administration end of it. So over to Carl.
Yeah, thank you, through your worship. So basically updated the situation as it stands today. You're correct, Councillor, that it was directed through council, and it was part of my report at the last council meeting, that the The road and infrastructure work will be completely separate from the police station building. That is the intent. The road work, and when I say road work, I'm talking about specifically the roads that will be created on that property, right? The issue today is with the delay is getting the redesign done for the actual property. So because the original drawing showed a driveway off of Grey Road 4, that is now going to be removed from the existing drawings. That because it's now, instead of a driveway, it's going to be a road. So that road will be separate. So that will be removed. There's some parking space adjustments. The new layout, the parking is different than what the previous design showed. The structure and the building location itself hasn't changed, but the parking and the landscaping around the structure has been modified a little bit. So that's what has to be adjusted through the civil engineer and the architect. So as well as removing the infrastructure work that was originally included as part of the drawings. For example, there's the original design had a water and sewer connection. Well, water from the Grey Road 4 side, the sewer connection from the south. That is all going to be removed from this tender, and it will be included in a separate tender that will come at a later date once Cobine's done their engineering. So right now we're just waiting for the adjustments to be made for the actual site. And if you have any further questions of that, it might be easier if we can show the site plan and I can show you exactly what's included and what's not. But that's, if you have any further questions, I can try to answer.
Okay, thank you for that. Now I'm even more confused than maybe I was before. Does it not make sense when we're putting the roads in to put the infrastructure in, the water and sewer at the same time up those streets? Or like, why would we put the streets in and then turn around and tender to put those services in after the fact? Or would it not make more sense to do it all at the same time?
Yes, through your worship, the intent is we would be doing the road and the infrastructure work under the road at the same time. Yes, but that is a separate tender. That is not being done. That is not being included. That will not be included as part of the police station tender. The police station tender will be the structure itself, the parking lot, and if you can imagine, like a driveway from the new road to the parking lot will be included as part of the tender. But the new road and all the infrastructure work under that new road is not included in this tender. It will come forward with a separate tender at a later date. That is not holding or delaying the structure itself being built. The structure, the tender that we're working on right now is just the structure itself, the parking lot, and then any connections from that future main, let's call it a main sewer line or main water line that will be under the road. The connections from that main water sewer from the property line to the structure itself will be included as part of the police station building. And that is what has to be amended from the tenders. Like I said, there's some small parking lots changing, so that has to be redrawn. And those connections of where they're being connected are changing, and that is what has to be amended by the civil engineer.
If I can, just one more follow-up then. So you're doing them as two separate tenders. So we could have a police station being built on a property with no roads, with no way to get there.
I guess ultimately that is a possibility. There is an entrance, an existing entrance off of Grey Road 4 that will service the construction site itself. And eventually, if a future that will remain as a driveway access to the paramedic and police station. It's not a public access, it would just be a driveway access that will remain. The intent is that engineer drawings for this the separate tender for the engineer for the drive, the road itself, and the infrastructure would be completed here in the next few months, and then that would go to tender in the spring as well, for construction sometime in the summer. That's a lot smaller project and a project that can be done a lot quicker. You know, build time is probably only a couple months versus, 12 to 18 months build time for the police station. So ideally, yes, I would all be sort of finished at the same time.
Yeah, so that's where I was going
Yeah.
with. Ideally, everything will come together at once.
Yes.
Okay, okay, good.
Further questions, Deputy Mayor Tom?
No punches. Hands down. Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Okay, so I guess my question is then, and I have clarity now on some of the delay. How do we deal with the people that we're waiting on to get this work done? Where's the deadline on it? Because my concern is this goes January into February, we're gonna miss, and this is gonna compound with more costs because everybody's starting to do quotes and on tenders that are out there for other projects. And we're not protecting ourselves very well here. I understand it's Christmas, holidays and whatnot, but we've got to put some emphasis that we need this done because we've only got so much in the budget to approve it.
Yeah, thank you, through your worship. So we have had further discussions with the engineer or with the architects themselves, and I have emphasized our I have emphasized our commitment to get this project moving at a rapid pace, that we're trying to get it tendered immediately in the spring for spring construction. He did respond by email and confirm that the timeline still is intact, that we can still, he believes that we'll still be looking at, March, April construction start. Again, all depends on weather in the spring, but that's the intent. I'm doing my best, I guess, to let them know that we're wanting to move forward. I haven't had direct contact with the sub-consultants through the architect. The architect, those are his, consultants, and they work with him. So I'm hoping that he's providing that same information to his consultants. Unfortunately, like it is busy. Everybody's busy. I probably, and I will take fault. I probably should have, confirmed those timelines for my last report to council, so I could have brought that timeline and provided that what the proposed project would delay the project that month or month and a half. So I apologize I didn't do that in the last report, and it came as a surprise to council after the fact. So that I'll take responsibility for that, and I will make a commitment to work with the architect and their engineers and to try to get this project done and move forward as fast as I can.
Yeah, and thank you, CBO Shipper. That was not the intent of my question to you, and appreciate you taking ownership of that. Obviously, I know there's a lot of moving things going on here, and you can only do what you can do. Again, my emphasis is to the contractors and the architects and designers and whoever else is involved behind the scenes, that they need to understand we need this in January, because I'm really feeling that if we don't get it out as early as we can in January, that we're going to miss some of the opportunity of some of the developers that are capable of doing this project because they've quoted on other stuff. They do get awarded, and we all know how that works. What's left over, and there's, they got a project, the revenue is going to go up substantially, and that's a concern. So I wasn't looking for blame, and I appreciate again what you've done there, but I guess I'd like to see something by mid-January, and hopefully everybody's back from holidays and they understand that our need in West Gray, and it's here. So, it's fine to, you say we can get it done, but if it doesn't roll out to February, yeah, we can get the shovel in the ground, but we need it out earlier so that we get the developers that are capable of doing this to quote on it earlier than later. That's all. Thank you.
Anything further on questions? Doug, Councillor Townsend.
Just a question to the CAO. Back after we voted to retain our police, and I'd asked for a costing report, and that it has been delivered. Is that costing report still open? Because I think I know myself and the taxpayers would be really interested to know, once we finally get the police station built, what the impact on the financial well-being of West Gray is, because had 4 members of the previous council not voted to halt the building that was already a go, it would have been up and operational by now. And for the most part, should have been, theoretically, would have been up and operational by now, but yet we're still waiting to put a shovel in the ground. So there's still added costs going on as we move forward. And I would just want to keep that in your mind, that that maybe that report should still be open-ended, that once we finally get into the new building, we'll know what the actual financial impact is to council, is to the members of the West Gray. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So thank you, Councillor Townsend. Yeah, I recall the report that you're speaking of was the cost to go through the OPP costing exercise. So that report's done and closed. Once the tender is received and the bids are tabulated, staff will be bringing a report on what the new project's going to be, what we're looking at for that. So at that point, we can look at what the financial impact and the story there might be.
Okay. Any other questions? Scott, Councillor Forster.
All right, my question is regarding waste management. Last week, the bottom end of Normanby, a bunch of residents got missed. I was just wondering what the protocol was for those people to get their garbage picked up.
You have somebody online, that staff member there, Nicole or Jeff? You can push the button, Jeff or Nicole, and join in virtually.
Good morning.
On the other side of the building.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Jeff.
So we've been in contact with Waste Management. They had an issue at their end, and we're working on a proper procedure to inform us when there is a change in schedule. I believe they can leave their material out, and Waste Management is scheduled to pick it up. We will try to let residents know as best we can when we become aware of this. Yesterday, there were no missed stops, if that's of any value.
Good with that, Scott? Okay. Yeah, the complications, I believe, in this, so is informing those individuals. Nobody really wants to leave garbage. Naturally, the bags seem to get open on the side of the road through many procedures, and you don't want to leave them out, but then, yeah, it's supposed to be there for the next day, and getting everybody informed about keeping it out or leaving it or bringing it back out, yeah, gets some difficulty. But I guess what I heard from that, if I'm correct, Jeff, is that, yeah, there's a problem on waste management, and if the individuals can phone in, and if we have information of how it's going to be rectified from their end, but it's a dissemination of information on the scheduling. So if anybody out there does have that problem, I think we do have a protocol. Phone in and try to be resolved. I believe there's a member of council used to work with that extensively in her employment previous. Okay, any other questions? Just a comment, I think from the questions that came here, staff, I think, really truly understands the sensitivity of the time issue that council on this police building. So we will get there. All assurances that we'll start to see the build at the beginning of the building season this year, this next building season, 2024. Good, Carl? Okay. Any other questions? Last chance for the year. Okay. Yes, Councillor Townsend. Doug, one.
Sorry. Just wondering if Jeff's online. Just wondering on an update on Bridge N55 on Side Road 20. The one that was the emergency closure. If we have any update on that. And I'll give you the residents update that I hear. That basically the wooden structure underneath, some of the boards are rotten, and that's what's caused the problem. And I guess my question for Jeff would be, because we pave over those wood boards, does that not retain the moisture? Would that not cause the rotting problem more, as opposed to if boards were exposed? I'm no engineer, but I'm just wondering if we're sealing in water or moisture by paving over these decks. Just a question.
Are you there with us, Jeff? And can you
I am.
put your engineering cap on and answer that one?
So bridges that have a wood deck on it are relatively flexible. Adding a surface like asphalt, which likes to be fairly rigid, eats into the load capacity of the bridge, and I would not recommend doing that if we choose to repair that bridge. Initial high-level summary analysis of what's occurred. Yes, the wood deck has deteriorated. It appears the superstructure underneath it is actually in salvageable condition. We'd like to eventually pull the deck off it and take a quicker look or more detailed look at that to confirm that detail. And I'm leaning towards, if we want to repair it at some point, yes, a wood deck solution similar to what you did, I think, on Bridge 17 might be the most ideal way to proceed. We've also reached out to a lightweight bridge manufacturer that was brought to our attention for their thoughts on what they would do with the structure.
Follow up. Go ahead.
Follow up if I can, Jeff, and if I understand you correctly, you said paving over a wood deck is not the best option in the world, if I understood that correctly. But yet the new bridge that was just put up by Aberdeen on the 2nd, that our last council just spent over $1 million on, they paved over the deck on that one. So why do we continue to do it? Just putting it out there. Thank you.
On that bridge, there was significant amount of waterproofing that went in to make that work, and it was some additional support was added to make it rigid for the asphalt. But on a structure like 55, I would not recommend any repair involving asphalt. My first thought would be to replace it simply with a wood deck, and then put a wearing wood surface on it that would also be wood that could be easily replaced if it deteriorates. But I would not recommend on 55 putting an asphalt deck back on it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jeff. And going forward, see if we can, how we can salvage that structure that's down there. Okay. That's it for questions. On to bylaws. So we do have a number of bylaws here with us today. Starting with bylaw number 2023-134, the confirming bylaw of the proceedings for today's meeting. Do I have a mover for that one? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Townsend. Any questions on the confirming bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Appointment of building inspectors, 2023-135. Just a little update on that one. That one comes through from this is from the last council meeting about hiring a couple of contract. I think I've got that right, Carl, that these two individuals would be under contract when we have those busy times, more so towards reviewing two of the bigger projects coming on board. Rockwood Terrace, highly technical, and it's going to take a lot of time to follow up on that. The police station, and one other rather complex building or larger project is the Grey County Ambulance Bay as well too, that's going in. So they will be under contract and used as an as needed basis. It won't be on a, yeah. Okay. So the bylaw number 2023-135. Billing, do we have somebody to move that one? Councillor Forrester and Councillor Shea. Thank you. Any further questions or comments on this bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Appointment of members to the Committee of Adjustment, done by bylaw, and it was from Jamie's report. We have a mover and a seconder for this. Deputy Mayor Hutchison, Councillor Townsend. Any questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Bylaw 13.4, bylaw 2023-137. Stop up and close a municipal road. This one's been around for a while. It's, I think, Jamie, the last one of municipal roads that we had delegated to be, so there was a bit of complication, but it is in front of us today. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Forrester. It's on there. Any questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. The next one is bylaw 2023-138 is the bylaw to, which has already gone through for approval to sale to Mr. Wilson. I have a mover and a seconder for this bylaw. Moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Any questions on the bylaw? Clarifications? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Water service agreement. This was the one that CBO spoke of earlier on the report. We have a mover and a seconder for bylaw 2023-139, Councillor Noon and Councillor Shea. Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And the final one is the zoning, comprehensive zoning bylaw. The one that staff report was here earlier in the meeting. Bylaw 2023-140, moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Noon. And I'll ask, any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. New business. Aware of any? Anyone else? Announcements. Anyone have any announcements? Councillor Noon.
I'd just like to express my Merry Christmas and all the best to everyone in 2024, to all the ratepayers, residents in West Grey. Have a great holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Noon. Anyone else? One announcement. Two ladies have carried on a long time tradition in the town of Durham, but more for any of the community surrounding. The Christmas dinner on Christmas Day will be going forward at the Durham Arena. It was started out as anybody that didn't have family or whatever. A business lady in Durham did it starting back in the 90s, and two other ladies, she passed away, but two other ladies have carried it on. So it is on Christmas Day. If you don't have a family, you don't want to be I guess it was a movie, wasn't it? Home Alone at Christmas. Everybody's invited. It's a free event at the Durham Arena. I believe 1 to 4, there will be entertainment and a few gifts, door prizes they have all the time as well too. I'd like to just have that shut out, and then dinner, I believe, is at 3 o'clock for the dinner. So shout out to Monica Griffin and Margaret Leatham, who continue to spearhead that great thing for those that don't have somebody to celebrate Christmas with. So that is on. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and I just want to also do a shout out to the West Grade Police Services for their success in the toy drive. I did see yesterday firsthand, I was stopped at Normandy School to do some other things that I was taking care of, and I'll tell you what, it's pretty phenomenal, some of the gifts that I've seen in there. So, and again, it doesn't go unannounced without all the supporters and businesses and anybody else in the community that's helped donate. It was pretty phenomenal what I had seen, the amount of gifts. So kudos to them for the hard work that they continue to do in making this season festive for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Scott, Councillor Forster.
New Year's Day, the firemen will be putting on their breakfast. And January 3rd to 9th is Great Bruce Farmers Week held in Elmwood.
That just on Main Street, or is it? No.
It's held at the community center.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that Ayton Fireman's Breakfast, is at the fire hall. Tickets, yeah, and can be purchased at the door. Yeah, they're always purchased at the door. Okay. Anything else? Everybody out there and the staff and everyone, council members, on behalf of myself and my family, enjoy the holiday season. This year, it looks like the weatherman is going to be a little bit more pleasant to us, and the weather is not going to be a catastrophic storm where you do have to stay at home alone for 3 days that we did last year. Anyways, enjoy everybody. Have a great holiday and Merry Christmas to all. And with that, we have no closed session. I'll say all business is completed on the agenda. I'm not going to move. I'll declare the meeting adjourned.